Many people, after seeing one of Hollywood's famous summer blockbusters, will have come out feeling a bit unsatisfied. Sure, you were only there to see things blow up. What does it matter if the story absolutely sucked? Do you get on a fast roller coaster expecting the poetic crafting of a narrative to supplement the experience? No, you just go fast, feel the thrill, and enjoy the ride. Some people liken these movies to roller coasters. And by some people, I mean me. Hey, I enjoy mindless entertainment as much as the next guy, but I rarely identify with the characters. I hardly ever feel the emotional impacts I'm pretty sure the director was hoping I'd feel. I usually don't come out hoping for a sequel, although I hope that man continues making movies like that until the day he dies. Somehow, movies that destroy half the world start to feel a bit overdone and dull. Like, the stakes are so high that the human mind can't really identify with them anymore. Whatever happened to one hero saving one person by slaying one dragon? Which is why this one show puzzles and amazes me so much. One show that has every negative stereotype you could ever assign to a bad Hollywood blockbuster, or a Godzilla film, or every anime TV show. Yes, one show that has it all. A simple narrative, monster fights every episode, total destruction of the world, a perfectly predictable ending to each episode, a ridiculous premise, and a character with a ridiculous backstory. Nothing makes sense, and the entire show seems to have been crafted with little but the ending fight scene in mind every single episode. But somehow, the show is actually amazing. I'm talking, of course, about Sword Art Online. Just kidding. Okay, yeah, it's One Punch Man. We're going to be talking about One Punch Man. Why is it so good? Well, it's kind of hard to explain, but I think it all has to do with the character's central conflict. You see, there's a problem that we video game players are all too familiar with. RPGs specifically have this problem, and that's how powerful your character becomes towards the end of the game. You often achieve godlike status with the ability to destroy any and all enemies with little effort. If working to gain that much power is the goal of a game player, why then, when we finally have it at our fingertips, does the game suddenly become uninteresting? We can't empathize with an all-powerful character. Their endless abilities become boring. Here's a question. Why is it so interesting to watch a sporting event between two evenly matched teams or athletes, but not fun at all to watch a powerhouse beat up on children? Not that I've ever seen that before. I mean, it just sounds uninteresting, right? So, not interesting. One Punch Man has this problem. Well, is it a problem? It is a problem in typical storytelling, but why does it work so well in this show? Being so powerful that life is dull is actually the issue that the creator decided to take on. Kind of like when I got to the end of Final Fantasy VII. Nothing was challenging anymore. Just like someone who works their day job at a desk. So good at what they do, spent years in school learning that skill, often internships, apprenticeships, following directions from several mentors, and getting your acquired skills to exceed the expected output level for your position. Then what? Well, I'll tell you what. You do nothing but that thing for at least 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for the next 40 years. That's what. What once seemed interesting and fun now becomes dull and unrewarding. And why? Because you're no longer working towards anything. You're just maintaining your high output for the foreseeable future. That's actually where One, the creator of One Punch Man, found himself long ago. He wanted to escape the dullness of office life, so he made a character who could do anything. But there's one catch. One thing that makes One Punch Man different from every other superhero I've ever heard of. His one weakness, if you could call it that. He's bored of being so strong. He worked hard, gained a skill, and now even that became boring. He wins every time, effortlessly. There is no risk. But somehow, watching this show is still massively rewarding. How can a show pull off something like this? 2 words. Subversion of expectations. Or 3 words, I suppose. What does subversion of expectations mean? Have you ever seen a movie where you hear scary music or sounds and you're sure that the bad guy is sneaking up on the main character, but it turns out to just be...
You dead.
Yeah, you got me, kid.
That's subversion of expectation. By setting up a scene to seem one way, you can subvert the audience expectations by having it end up opposite from what they thought would happen. In this scene, Saitama finishes off the massive antagonist with a single punch, completely annihilating him. Then he shouts, "Did we see that right? Is he upset that he was able to beat the monster so easily?" I have to admit, this isn't something I've ever seen before. One took all the tropes, all of the stereotypes, all of the generic methods that have been used over the years and made something new. Something unexpected, something I've never seen before. Something amazing. One Punch Man as a show, famously, just doesn't take itself seriously.
趣味でヒーローをやっているものだ。
なんだ？その適当な設定は。
And seriously, what kind of backstory is that? It's almost like he's playing a game. What if we beat an RPG, destroyed the boss, and then continued on in the game afterwards? But here's the catch. The game became our lives and we could never get out. Hey, that's actually a pretty good premise for... Never mind. What we feel when we get that powerful in a game is a fraction of the same thing Saitama feels when he destroys a monster with one punch. He screams, so upset he was just able to beat the gigantic monster with such ease. He just wants a challenge. That's all. Just like it isn't fun to watch two unmatched teams compete in a game, it isn't much fun to play a game that can be beaten with such ease. It's almost as though Saitama is stuck playing a game he's long since beaten and can't seem to ever get out of. The most interesting thing about Saitama is that we've still yet to see the extent of his powers. He hasn't been tested enough to need to use everything at his disposal. And I don't think he ever will be. He doesn't have a single scratch on his entire body. In fact, he often has a harder time dealing with other people than he does dealing with monsters. He often says things like, "I had become the hero of which I dreamed, but nothing was as I imagined. Why do I feel so empty inside? I became too strong. I always dreamed of being a superhero. I became invincible." Having overwhelming strength is pretty boring. Does this not describe the plight of RPGs perfectly? But where this is a problem in RPGs, this exact problem has been transferred over to One Punch Man as the central conflict of the show. He beat the game long ago. Now he's just living his life as a man loaded with materia, magicite, GFs, you name it. And, well, it's pretty boring. What we're really watching in the show is a man coming to terms with himself and his position in life. He's trying to grapple with his new reality. And while the show is absolutely hilarious, somehow it can still connect with its audience on a personal level. We all know what it's like to lose interest in something we once loved. We all know what it's like to have good deeds go unnoticed. We can see the potential in ourselves, but often the people around us can't. We know what it's like to, sometimes, be the only person in the world who believes in us, ourselves. I mean, how did Saitama get that powerful in the first place? He worked hard. He did hundreds of push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups every day. After a while, he noticed two things. That's it. He really is just a normal guy. A normal guy who packs the punch of 1,000 thermonuclear warheads, but on the inside at least, a normal guy nonetheless. And the creator of the show knows this. He's not the most talented artist himself. Actually, I might say he's not a talented artist at all. But do you know what? He believed in himself and watched his creation turn from this into this. One of the biggest anime shows in the world. Now, if that isn't encouraging you to get out of your chair and do what you love and believe in, even when others tell you it isn't going to work, I don't know what else will. The anime and manga industry in Japan is tough. For an artist like One to have found success there means two things. One, he believed in himself and never gave up. And two, his stories had real heart. a connection to people in a way that is rarely seen in this particular genre. His character resonated with me, even as I watched him punch out a monster 20 times his size. I look at Saitama and I see someone like me, not in ability, but in spirit and in tenacity. What I admire in Saitama isn't his punching, it's his determination in the face of internal conflict and adversity. While including all the generic tropes of Hollywood blockbusters, that one aspect of One Punch Man is what makes it go from bearable to remarkable. A show that is truly one of a kind.